Alcarez, it feels great when opponents are amazed by my shots. The Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz stated that it feels great when his opponents are amazed or praise him for his shots. The Mercian, who qualified this Saturday for the Queen's final after defeating Roberto Bautista, received congratulations from the man from Castellón after a spectacular point in the first set, an image already common in his matches. The Mercian, who qualified this Saturday for the Queen's final after defeating Roberto Bautista, received congratulations from the man from Castellón after a spectacular point in the first set, an image already common in his matches. It also depends on the score. Today it was on the point to finish the first set. I'm glad they enjoyed or were amazed by the shot I made. We try to make those kinds of plays, we look for those moments. They're moments I love to execute, and that's why I enjoy playing tennis. It feels great when opponents are amazed by my shots, said the Spaniard at a press conference. This Sunday, Alcarez will play the Queen's final against Jiří Lehecka, and could become the second Spaniard in history to win this title twice, after Feliciano Lopez, who did it in 2017 and 2019. It's great to be back in a final. It's special for me to play here at Queen's. I feel good. My confidence is very high and, as I've said before, the more you win, the more confidence you have. I hope I'll be even better tomorrow. With the victory over Bautista, Alcaraz has become the third player in history to reach 250 wins the fastest, behind only John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors. I'm very happy to join the group of legends and to be the third fastest to those 250 wins. It's incredible. We don't give much importance to statistics, but once we know about them, it feels great, he stated. Alcarez angry with the chair umpire after being penalized. She wanted to be the protagonist. Carlos Alcaraz had a tough task in the round of 16 of the ATP 500 grass tournament at Queen's, in London. 3 hours, 30 minutes? Are we on clay? He wrote on the camera after winning his marathon match against Jaume Munar, 6-4, 6-7, 7, 7-5. The Mallorcan offered fierce and high-quality resistance after saving 2 match points in the tiebreak, with 6-4 for Alcaraz, who lost the first one with a double fault. The Roland Garros champion was on the edge, and also had to deal with one of his usual on-court complaints. A matter in which he has many allies on the ATP circuit. The 25-second rule for serving. The problem lies in the fact that the countdown clock is currently activated automatically, without chair umpire intervention, and it starts after the previous point ends regardless of what happened, whether it was an intense rally. It may even happen that the crowd hasn't sat down yet from celebrating an amazing point. At 5-5 in the second set, Carlos Alcaraz received a warning from the chair umpire, British Kelly Rask, who has experience officiating finals at Wimbledon. On the second one, he already had to serve with a second serve directly, losing the first. Alcaraz approached the chair, upset because he didn't understand it. Why? He asked. And he explained it to the umpire. The point ends and I'm at the net. I have to get the towel. I need to do my routine, he emphasized. Kelly Rask insisted that the ball kids could bring him the towel to save time. Yes, they bring it to me sometimes and even then I don't have time, the Spaniard complained again. It's not the first and won't be the last time. Players ask for understanding depending on the nature of the point regarding when the 25-second clock should start. That the umpire has room for judgment depending on what happened. But the referees always excuse themselves saying they're not the ones who activate the clock. But you're the one who penalizes me, Novak Djokovic said in a discussion for the same reason at Roland Garros. Today I had several issues with it. I don't get it. I also think it's a problem with the chair umpire, who maybe wanted to be the protagonist, but anyway, it's a rule that should be changed, lamented Alcaraz. They should also be a little more lenient with that. We've played 3 hours, we finish a long point at the net, they should have a bit of empathy and give us a little more time. There are many situations where everything is slow and time runs, and we can't prepare properly for the next point. When you can't prepare the right way for the next point, you can't play it the right way, so I think for the show, it's not the best, Alcarez emphasized at a press conference. Hard blow for Carlos Alcaraz at Queen's. The Spanish tennis player loses his main coach for this tournament, Juan Carlos Ferrero, and Samu Lopez takes over his role. Carlos Alcaraz has a big challenge at Queen's. The Spanish tennis player has chosen this ATP 500 event to make his debut on grass and get into rhythm on this surface ahead of Wimbledon, and he's also one of the main contenders for the title. That's how it went in 2023, although last season he lost in the quarterfinals to Jack Draper. So this year, he has the chance to progress and earn important points for the ATP ranking. Carlos Alcaraz loses Ferrero at Queen's. The Mercian tennis player will be without the support of his main coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, at this Queen's event. The former Valencian tennis player is Alcaraz's right hand in tennis and was a key piece in his great comeback at Roland Garros, which allowed him to become champion of this Grand Slam again. However, after such intense weeks, Ferrero is stepping aside and has not traveled to London with the Mercian. Instead, Samu Lopez will take over the role of Alcaraz's head coach, as has already happened several times during the year, all of them very satisfactorily. The coach from Alicante has led from the bench in the two first tournaments Alcaraz has won this season. First in Rotterdam and then in Monte Carlo, so there are high expectations for Queens. The goal for a player like him is to come to tournaments to win, but being aware that the important thing is to keep preparing and accepting that it won't be easy, after such a long clay tour and now a surface change. Then there's a week in between to fine-tune and adapt things and then Wimbledon. I'm sure he'll be ready, Lopez said before Carlitos debuted at the Queen's Club. Carlos Alcaraz's next challenge is Spanish, Jaume Munar. To keep gaining rhythm and fighting for the title, Alcaraz will face fellow Spaniard Jaume Munar in the Queen's round of 16. This sets up a national clash that Davidovic's withdrawal prevented. The Balearic player comes to the match after Thompson withdrew from his first round match. Rafa Nadal's advice to Carlos Alcaraz that the Mercian doesn't forget: don't see tennis as an obligation. Carlos Alcaraz, who continues his strong run at Queen's after defeating Adam Walton 6-4, 7-6, and who just won Roland Garros, hasn't forgotten some of the best advice given to him by Rafa Nadal. The Mercian tennis player recalled in a quick test for GQ magazine the best advice the Mallorcan gave him: that I don't have to see tennis as an obligation. That I should do it to improve and become better, but not out of obligation. A piece of advice that has clearly stayed with the Mercian, who seems to be applying it, as he looks like he's enjoying himself on court and has had a great clay season. Alcaraz also answered other questions like who he thinks is the best player in Real Madrid's history. The tennis player, a well-known supporter of the Madrid team, had little doubt in his answer: I think Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm a big fan of his, so him. Superman would be good, he says laughing, about what superhero he would be. He thinks We Are the Champions is the perfect song to celebrate something. With more hesitation, he answers whether he'd rather be a Formula One driver or a football player, although he ends up choosing the latter. Now Alcaraz is set to focus on his next match against fellow Spaniard Jaume Munar, which takes place this Thursday, June 19, in which he'll seek victory to advance and aim for the title. Carlos Alcaraz also denounces threats received through social media. Some messages are even scary. It's a real scourge for all tennis players. These are threatening messages on social media, a problem largely linked to the betting market, about which Carlos Alcaraz also spoke out this Tuesday. The Spaniard, who beat Adam Walton this Tuesday in his Queen's debut, spoke about social media and said he has sometimes received very extreme and even scary messages. After the win over Walton, Alcaraz commented on the current state of social media following a report published by the WTA and ITF stating that female players received around 8,000 threats in 2024 through these platforms. You get a lot, it's a shame to receive these messages. Today social media is a very important tool, because it's important for work and many things, but it's also a double-edged sword due to the fact that many people can reach you. When things don't go well, when you lose early, when you lose matches you shouldn't, that's when people leave their comments, said Alcaraz. Some are positive, some encourage you, and others are very extreme. I won't say here exactly what kind of messages I've received, but yes, they are very heavy and some even make you scared and rethink many things. That's a shame, he added. Alcaraz will return to the court this Thursday against Jaume Munar, whom he has faced 3 times on tour with a record of 2 wins and 1 loss. Jaume is a great competitor. Some may think his style is more for clay, that he feels more comfortable there, but the competitiveness he has inside is incredible. That's what allows him to compete well on all surfaces. We've played and trained with him and we're going to try to improve the things we did wrong today, feel more comfortable on grass and see how it goes, said Carlos Alcaraz. Drastic change for Carlos Alcaraz just hours before his debut. Alcaraz makes debut with a solid win. The Mercian star kicked off the grass season with a win over Australian Adam Walton, 6-4, 7-6. Doubts about Carlos Alcaraz's condition after his stunning victory at Roland Garros and his Ibiza party were put to rest by the Spaniard with a convincing win in his Queen's debut over the Australian Adam Walton by 6-4, 7-6, 4. It was a strange match, because Alcaraz found out 4 hours before that he would not be playing against his compatriot Alejandro Davidovich, who withdrew due to illness, but against the Australian, who entered the draw as a lucky loser. He didn't allow any surprises and showed that he is in great shape, took care of himself during vacation, and that adaptation to the grass tour is going as planned. Hug with Hewitt. Because Walton, despite having played only 5 grass matches in his career, is a player well versed on this surface, since in Australia there are likely more grass courts than in any other country in the world. Given the unknown opponent, Alcaraz asked his compatriot Jordan Thompson for advice during the warm-up hours earlier on one of Queen's outdoor courts. Perhaps, had he known the pairing a little earlier, he could have also asked Lleyton Hewitt, Wimbledon champion and former world number 1, whom he hugged during the morning at Queen's. The Australian, now working with his country's tennis federation, congratulated the man from El Palmar on his victory in Paris a week ago. Solid on serve. The talk with Thompson paid off. Alcaraz played an impeccable first set, especially on serve, where he lost only 4 points, while on return he gradually improved. It took him 7 games and 3 break chances to break the Australian, who, with the opportunity of his life, was playing on top of the baseline and being very aggressive. When Alcaraz was in control, there was no contest, but when the Australian could hit cleanly, he found winners with ease. That's what this surface allows. 1 or 2 shots are often enough to win a point, and a single error can cost you your serve in the set. 2 break points saved, and Alcaraz was very close to that. He faced 2 set points in the second, at 4-5, which he saved with 2 great serves. He could have lost a set against Walton's high level, which is why adapting, squeezing out all the minutes possible at Queen's, and especially playing as much as possible, is vital. The victory, sealed in the tiebreak, lets him move forward, gain rhythm, and polish his game on a type of surface used only for 5 weeks a year. Walton, who fell after 1 hour and 43 minutes, is the first obstacle at a Queen's tournament where Alcaraz's goal is to win, as always, in a player used to devouring success, but the key is to gain experience. His winning streak is now at 14, counting Rome, Roland Garros, and this Queen's opener, and his grass record is impressive, 25 wins and only 3 losses. Carlos Alcaraz jokes about his last Ibiza party, "My body can't handle it anymore." It's been a week since Carlos Alcaraz lifted the Roland Garros trophy after beating the Italian Jannik Sinner in a historic final. The Mercian celebrated in style and, as he likes, went to Ibiza to enjoy a few days of peace and partying. The Spanish tennis player had a great time, although he confirms, jokingly, that he only went out one night. In statements to AFA, he spoke about his Ibiza vacation after winning Roland Garros a week ago. "It was fun, but this year was calmer than the last. Last year was wilder. I went out the first day and didn't go out at night the other 2. In bed by 12 on Tuesday and Wednesday, although I did go out in the afternoon. I'm getting older and my body can't handle it anymore," said Alcaraz with a laugh. A tradition for Carlos Alcaraz. The trip to Ibiza has already become a tradition for the Spaniard, who, however, was criticized last year for doing it as it supposedly affected his preparation for Queen's. Even so, he went on to win Wimbledon weeks later, and this year he's done it again, encouraged by many people who, once they enjoyed his spectacular win against Jannik Sinner at Roland Garros, cheered him on to go wherever he wanted. There are situations where many people won't agree, where even you think it's right, but others don't agree, but in life I want to make my own mistakes. I'm glad that this year people are telling me to go wherever I want, to disconnect, because support helps in certain situations. We're learning each year and maybe in a few years I won't be able to go, but now these moments of disconnect are really good," Alcaraz said.